Yet nobody has been forced to explain why boys who are already failing need to be held back further. And so they are. Christina Hoff Sommers is the author of The War Against Boys. She was one of the very first people in American intellectual life to notice this trend and to sound the alarm. She was ignored, but we're grateful that she did it anyway. Thank you. Christina Hoff Sommers joins us tonight. So you wrote this original piece from which this whole series basically has been derived almost 20 years ago when you noticed that boys were falling behind. And yet the assumptions of the people who make policy decisions don't seem to have changed much in that time. Why?
There's a great deal of resistance to addressing the needs of boys. And there are a lot of women's groups, not all of them, but most of them call it backlash. And they're unwilling to listen. So boys, it's as if we've thrown the gender switch, and boys are on the wrong side of the gender gap in education.
How does that, so the core assumption is that it's a zero-sum arrangement where when you hold back boys, girls shoot ahead and it's great for them. But that's not really the nature of life, is it? Does it help girls when boys fail?
That is the fundamental fallacy. See, I think too many of the activist groups think that there's a trophy, and either Venus is going to win or Mars, and their job is to root for Venus and make sure, hold back Mars. No, there's not a single trophy. Men and women, boys and girls, we're in this together. Yes. And if boys are in trouble, so are we all. I mean, these are the young men with whom our daughters and granddaughters are going to make the future. And so if boys are failing, what's going to happen to girls?
That's a question that a father of every daughter, including myself, thinks about a lot. So you just sort of wonder, like, how do we get to a place where colleges, in which, broadly speaking, men really are failing, falling behind girls, have funded departments whose main course of study is why masculinity, maleness, is bad? Why doesn't anybody ever say anything about that?
We try, but again, you're called names and demonized if you defend boys and point out their plight, specifically in education. And we have economists now. Larry Summers, for example, projects that by mid-century, maybe a third of men in the full-time workforce are going to be out of the workforce, disengaged, not there. Millions of men are simply not going to be looking for work, not in the workplace. Now, we can address this. England, Australia, Canada, they're very worried because of the future of their economy and because of the social, just confusion that this will lead to. And they're addressing the problem. They haven't solved it, but they're working on it. We haven't really acknowledged it.
What does it say about our policymakers that they're acting from assumptions that were relevant in 1979 but are no longer?
Well, they're not paying attention, and I think it's hard to know where to place the fault, because there's simply what we have right now is vast numbers of organizations that have actually done a very good job supporting young women and helping young women, addressing their needs. Girls were behind in math and science, and thanks to many women's groups and activists, we have strengthened young women. They take more advanced math classes and science classes than boys now in school. Where were the efforts for boys? There was no lobby. There's no lobby. And people say, well, they don't need a lobby. It's a man's world. Well, I'm not sure that's true altogether, but it's certainly not a little boy's world. And no one's paying attention.
Sad. Well, thank you for all the work you've done on this. It's important. Christina Hoff Sommers, thanks.
Thank you.
Democratic Party, not the party you remember even from 3 years ago. New and radically different ideas, agendas, a whole new ideology. A former top official in the Obama administration and the Hillary Clinton campaign joins us next to discuss